Kia ora tātou, e te whānau, hey fam. I just have a channeled message for you all that I will share. I was outside this rising pouring up, pouring libation. Libation is a form of prayer, so you will just pour water or you can pour liquor in alignment with your prayers or your affirmations as an offering. And exchange to source, the divine ancestors, Asasia, Papatunuku, or Earth. So I was doing that this morning, and I was pouring up for a bit, and I was coming to the end of my glass of water that I was pouring, and I heard piwaka waka. If you're unfamiliar, that's a native fantail in Aotearoa, New Zealand, and so I was like, oh, and like looked to listen. And I felt like they were responding to my offering and prayer that I was giving. And I was like, cool. And then I finished pouring up. So my glass was empty. I gave thanks. And then I heard them on the other side of me. And I was like, oh, they've already like flown past me and didn't even notice. And they were in the rimu tree, which I had left offering, like food offering at the base of not too long ago. And then they flew over to the harakeke, the flax, and then flew on to the Nico palm tree, and then to another tree which I'm unfamiliar of the name of, but that tree is barren at the moment, like doesn't, it's getting cold, so it's not really growing any like leaves or flowers. Yeah, so I wanted to share that because this goes into the korero or the conversation that was coming up. So yeah, piwaka waka for a very special and significant bird for Maori Indigenous. From what has been shared with me, they are connected to Io, connected to divine source, light, and death, rebirth. If you have heard the stories, if you're a settler in Aotearoa, I really recommend going and reading some of the stories. There's lots online. But yeah, the channeled message that I was getting was that it's important for us to connect with the divine at this time, so they can answer back. So for example, I was out there pouring up and praying and giving offering, and then I got an immediate sign of response from nature, right? What I got from the significant plants was that the divine source, our divine ancestors, are wanting to transmute and alchemize with us what we need. They're offering us a deep protection and stability amongst everything if we are making the time and the exchange to tap in. I always talk about this when it comes to ancestral offering and communication, that it is an exchange. If you're wanting to learn a little bit more on ancestral offering, we have a video up on that on our YouTube, but this is not accessible to everyone. There's a donation exchange, so if you're wanting that, please DM me. But yeah, I felt the encouragement for us to communicate and give our various offerings, however it may be. And the question that I felt that came through was, what does your offering look like? So that could be pouring up like me, that could be playing your ancestors' music, that could be lighting up incense, candles, that could be singing, that could be dancing. What is it for you? Offering, and I heard that our offering and exchange is going to bring us stability at this time, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and physically, materially. It also allows us to stand tall and protected in who we are. I heard that our divine ancestors and source are protecting our hearts as well. And I also got these message of the cycles of life, the phases. If you're familiar with the Nico palm, it has those rings around it showing its age, right? And I was seeing the cycles and circles of life and rebirth and things that we are all going through. And I heard that some of us may feel like we are moving around in circles like this, but they wanted to remind us that we're actually cycling up, even though it may feel like we're in the same place. And I heard that there is a great exponential growth. And when I went to look up the word exponent or exponential. It said exponent is defined as the method of expressing large numbers in terms of powers. That means exponent refers to how many times a number is multiplied by itself. For example, 6 is multiplied by itself 4 times. So what I was getting from that, like with the Nico tree, like rings, like say like 1 ring equals 6, and then it's multiplied by 4, or how many times it has grown. So that was like a physical example of, you know, you might think you're just going like this, but you're actually like growing exponentially. Yeah, and I also, yeah, so there's a great exponential growth and strength in our resistance. So yeah, we need to protect our hearts and protect what we love, and that is the resistance as well. I also heard that it's important for us to weave some of our kaupapa or our principles together and figure out what we're carrying in our kete, in our basket, in our every day. Like, what are the resources that you have as the person that you are? What are the resources that I have as Janina? Like my gifts, my talents, what can I contribute? How am I wearing it? I'm actually thinking of like an actual kete or like bag, or like a backpack, or like a woven flax like hat. You know, there are so many different ways to wear harakeke when it's made, right? And I was seeing different people like weaving different things with it and then wearing it differently, but it all contributing. I hope that that makes sense. So I heard that we are all wearing our different kinds of things differently and creating things differently, but that's the beauty of our own intricate makeup and style. So we can have fun with it and it can form our expression. I hope that that makes sense. And then from the last tree, which was barren, in the summertime, this tree was super fruitful and vibrant, and was producing these really beautiful pink puti puti flowers. I don't know what this tree is called, but I heard that some things that were fruitful before in the last season, so some things that were popping off in our lives, like our work, our creativity, even relationships, friendships, whatever it may be, may seem a little bit barren at this time, or have the potential to be barren, but it's just because of the seasons. So they're saying not to get discouraged by that. Like if some things that we have been nurturing are a little bit quieter at this time, that's just because of the natural cycle of things. So it might be time for us to pause on that, take a break from that. But they also said not to neglect those things entirely out of being disheartened or discouraged, just because we do not see the physical growth. It will cycle back in the next season, or in like the season after the next, you know. I feel like they said take note of when certain things thrive and when certain things go to sleep. We can still nurture things in the spiritual as well, through our offering, through our exchange, through our prayer, whatever it may be. Even just saw someone journaling, so you might be journaling and planning for a different season, something that like a project or something like that that might be asleep at this time. So yeah, we can still nurture things in the spiritual and also put things on the shelf for later. Like I'm storing this away, but I'm going to come back to that in 2 months, in 6 months, you know. So yeah, I will leave that there. That was pretty much the main channel that I was seeing. But yeah, I really encourage you all to give offering and exchange. Again, if you need help with figuring out how to give offering and exchange, we have a video on that, so just email us or DM us. We also talk a little bit about that in one of our posts on this page. If you're wanting to know a bit more on the ancestral journey and ancestral connection in general, we also have a 30-page PDF for that, that's available on our site. So we'll put that link in the description as well. Sending you all heaps of love. Okay, so part 2, or the second part of this channeled message, is I was talking about, firstly, I was talking about harakeke and like weaving and stuff like that. Please don't take that literally. That was like a metaphor, because I spoke about making our own like woven things and stuff. I felt like Source told me to, let you all know that that's a metaphor. I'm not telling you to go out and harvest harakeke and weave your own things. Please don't do that. The other message behind that was tikanga, like there is tikanga, or how do you describe that, like indigenous protocols that we follow. So as a settler, if I'm going into an indigenous space, I have to follow the protocols that are given to me. Does that make sense? For example, there are certain protocols, I don't know if protocols is the right word, but I think you all will understand me, that you're meant to follow when it comes to harvesting different native plants. And there are specific ones that we as settlers or like non-Maori are not meant to harvest, right? So and harakeke is kind of one of them, I think, unless you're like taught, I don't know, I don't want to get into it, but I just wanted to say, like, in regards to that metaphor, they were speaking to me about how when we, as not non-indigenous, but as settlers, if you're a settler on someone else's land, like you don't come from that place, it's important for us to take the responsibility again of following the indigenous protocols and things that we are meant to do and meant to not do, if that makes sense. We're supposed to honor those things. And so that was part of the message that I was getting. So wherever you are at, make sure that when you are joining in this collective resistance and contributing to community, that you are honoring indigenous principles, practices, protocols, and taking heed of what to do and what not to do. If you're struggling with that or don't know certain things, it's never like shame to ask. Always just ask a friend, ask someone, a mentor or someone that might know. Ask online if you don't know anyone, or do some research, go into indigenous sites or something, or resources as well. That's a way to find out answers to questions if you're a settler on some other people groups' land.